Good morning, everybody. We are back for the I Win Morning Show. It is now. I said this last week, and you can't go back and change it. But this is the last Monday of January. Now, last Monday was the last full week of January. This is the last Monday of
Oh,
January.
you're fixing
and
this. You're fixing it up. You're fixing it up.
I am excited that we are getting ready to enter Black History Month. So this is so timely because of the state that we're living in right now and just the state of the world. But also in remembrance of our ancestors and all of the great things that have been done. I want to challenge us this Black History Month to focus on the joy and to focus on our wins. Because when we look at how we teach our children, it is a thing. We didn't start from slavery. We didn't start from bondage. We didn't start from depression. And so I think that we need to focus on a different aspect. Carter G. Woodson was intentional around Black History Week and wanted to teach us the wins and the successes of our people, not just focusing on the pain and the turmoil that we too often live through here in these United States. So y'all, we excited about Black History Month. It's gonna be joy in spite of everything that's happening. So really super excited about that. And y'all, how was the weekend? How was the weekend?
Go ahead, Brother JT. I'm so glad you're here.
Yes, I ain't gonna go ahead, Dr. Danny. That was a.
He said he wasn't gonna be here today.
I did. I didn't even know.
I said nobody's supposed to be here, but we here, so we gotta.
We are here.
I didn't even know I was on until I heard Jason fix this Monday situation. I was like, "Well, we are here.
Yeah,
we are here."
We are here.
No, I didn't. What did I do? Oh, I did a lot of teaching this weekend. Yeah. I had a dope vision board party that I went to. They were turned. Turned. And it was a church, and they were turned. You hear me?
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was really dope. Yeah. So did that, and just been staying consistent on my eating and doing better for my health, huh? We got to live long. We got to live long.
That sounds like a good weekend.
It does.
Yeah.
I kind of feel some type of way.
Very, very airy and like beachy. Your background is very beachy and stuff.
It is very beachy. It is very beachy. But I'm not going to get away from my point because you went to a vision party. It was at a church.
I did.
And you did not invite the I Win team. And I'm if we show up at a vision party, we gonna have some vision now. We gonna get some
I'm trying
to
remember. I'm trying to remember to really start engaging and sharing what be happening in my life. Because you get to a point sometimes where you just start doing stuff and you don't be thinking about it. So that's a good little point. So I'll start sharing that information with people because this stuff be happening. I'll be like, "Oh, that's nice." And then when I come from them, why you didn't tell me? I don't be thinking about it. I just show up. You know.
We understand.
If you get to the point too where you do share and people don't be moving, and you be like, "Well, I'll just keep moving." Because when you do share it with them, you kind of be like, "I want you to show up, but I ain't gonna say that. I'm just gonna hopefully you get it." But I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna start letting y'all know.
Remember.
I love you. Let us know.
Sharing
and start by sharing in our group text. You can just share whatever you want to do in there. We can start from there. I love y'all so much. All right, Dr. Danny, how was your weekend?
It was pretty productive. I had this moment of innovation that just hit me, and so I was writing the heck out of some curriculum and ideas and things like that I can't wait to package and to share with the rest of the world. And that is not me being, conceited. It's me just really being obedient and writing. I'm a dreamer and my dreams were extremely intense. I can't explain it. It's a gift. But I started writing down the dreams as I would wake up and realize that a lot of ideas are coming from those dreams. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff I have in the works, and I'm excited to share it as it manifests.
Well, that is exciting. I Am a Dreamer by Dr. Danny.
I Am a Dreamer by Dr. Danny. I am done.
I am a dreamer.
I got a question,
I love it.
Dr. Danny. I got a question. So did you do anything that sparked this creativity and innovation, or did it just came out of nowhere? Like, are you able to pinpoint maybe how it happened? Because I just love when people have those moments, and I'd be like, was there anything that happened that helped that so that you can possibly do it again, or did it just hit you?
Okay, so two answers to this. You never know when it's going to hit you, first and foremost. But you must be obedient to the spirit, and you have to position yourself to be in a listening posture. And so people like us who are always on the go, when we finally sit and we're thinking like, oh my God, this is so awkward. If you sit and just patiently wait, the ideas come. And for me, it was spending time to just relax, sit, chill.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love
That's
that.
good.
Dr. Danny,
That's
I do that a lot too, even though people are always like, you're always on the move, but be quiet. My favorite places to really, because I don't have a choice. When I'm flying, I feel like I read so many books. I get so much done in regards to writing because
and you're closer to God because you're up in the clouds. Like He's right there, you're right there, and we're right here. You know,
God is great. You're right. So I get a lot done. I also get a lot done at the beach. Which JT kind of hinted with my background. Of course, my background ain't the studio wall. It's like, okay, he's on the move. But I did have a great weekend. If you can see this box, it's so beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is my mother-in-law. This is Ray's mom.
What a beautiful picture.
We are all here celebrating her birthday, which is, it was so exciting, so beautiful to get a chance to meet her siblings, and of course see some of the family members who had met, and it was everybody's first time meeting my parents. So
they all went. Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. So we're really excited about everybody coming back together.
Did they do this?
So,
You're so silly. Right.
Why is he like this? Why is he like this?
Oh, you are the one we've been hearing about.
That wave though. And Ray Mom, they do those waves, and I'm like, that is so cute. I'm like, I don't know where this wave comes from, but it was a beautiful time. But we're also here in prayers for my sister-in-law. She's actually at the doctor's office now. This is her first day doing chemotherapy. She's going to be fine. One of the things, I try to find the beauty in everything. And when Ray's mom was going through her battle with cancer, and she's a survivor of cancer, we're thankful for that. It was his sister and our sister-in-law who sat with his mom. They would take her to those things. And so we just believe in the power of prayer, what you put out in the atmosphere, and just also things that we have to do to, be mindful of the health and medical fields, because they are also systems. So making sure that we're connected to the right people who are giving us the right information, and most importantly, leaning on the power of God. So we are sending up prayers for Sherry. This is her first day of treatment, but she's going to be good. And we're just sending up powerful prayers and thoughts to her on today. I believe it already.
Yay.
So that is the weekend wrap up. Kind of sounds like we all did some major things. Super excited about that. Now, Dr. Danny, it is your time to shine. Now, I have not said something that I always say, and I'm just kind of looking to see who's going to come in and be like, good morning. We love y'all. I win. But if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, or if you're watching it live on Facebook, you already know what I'm going to say. It's Monday morning. It is the last Monday of this month, and we're getting ready to start Black History Month. So I need you to get all of the people connected to the conversation today. So tag 5 people. Dr. Danny's gonna tag 5 people. JT's tagging 5 people. I'm gonna tag 5 people. But we want you to tag 5 people as well, because the big question today is timely, and it's something that we really need to be real about and address. So I'm super excited about getting there. But while you're tagging people, getting people connected to this conversation, you already know that spirit is about to come in, where we're about to be affirmed, uplifted, motivated, encouraged, and we may even be inspired to dream. So, Dr. Danny, we're going to turn it over to you to bring us our affirmation.
That was a good segue. I like that. So I wanted to just first say I have a very clear theme this morning, and I am going to just give you a clue because it is on one of my specialty mugs, Star. I have accessorized with star earrings. I have accessorized with a galaxy shirt because this is how I wanted to start my week, knowing that I am a star. I shine brightly, and it is from the inside out. So now it's time for my affirmation. I will start and end my day with the sounds of laughter. I will challenge myself to create a space for joy. I will plant the seeds of smiles in others so that when I need it most, a smile will show up at my door. That is the affirmation.
You better smile. Come on, Kurt Frank, smile. Yes, you better smile.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to smile. Smile.
Yes.
Jason, you and your singing, bro, you going to come out with the album this year.
Okay.
I might. Can y'all just imagine when I'm older? I can't wait. I'm just going to be like, come on by the porch. I'm having church already. Come on, everybody. Come on by. I may not have any food, but y'all can come on. So,
I buy it.
Oh God, it's so funny. It makes me think about my great grandfather all the time. Anyway, Dr.
What he does?
That's what he used to do. He used to in Portsmouth. He was on our street on the backside. He was the only person who had a garage. So everybody knew Poppy because he had a garage, and most people would just stop. They would talk. They sing. They have the cigars, tobacco. They just do everything. They would be like, he had a garden, so they would exchange fruits and vegetables. I just loved it. It was just it was like church. It was just like, come on, ye. All you people. Loved it. And he did it with a smile. See how I brought that back to that connection? You got to smile. Yes. It's something about smiling.
Smile. Smile. Yeah, I do hear that song. I do hear it.
I hear it. Dr. Danny, you always bring us an amazing affirmation. Guys, don't forget to smile this week. That fit perfectly into the narration around Black History Month. We're focusing on joy. We're focusing on our wins. We're focusing on our successes. You should be able to smile about the things that our ancestors and you have done. All right, Dr. Danny, with this affirmation for today.
Come on. Snap, snap, snap.
Well, JT, we passing the mic to you, our brother.
Boom. All right. So today, inspiration is a quote from my book, Wake Up, Be Inspired. Yes, it's a quote from number 44. Y'all know what number 44? Who's number 44?
Number 44.
It's Barack Obama.
Obama.
Yeah. And he said, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek. So I said, we are the change we seek. Everything we need, we have built in to make the change. No, it won't be easy. No, it may not be it may be downright difficult. We have the ability to make the change. We don't have to wait for somebody to open the door, no wait for somebody to provide the opportunity. We are creative. We are insightful. We are determined. This is what we've been given, so let's make the change. Let's be the change we seek. So the prayer says, I am a change agent. I can turn bad to good. I have the power to make change through my hands today. I will allow my hands to create change. I will allow my mouth to create the change. I will allow my thoughts to be the change. Lord, don't let me sit in a space where the conductive repetition allow me to be the space that creates effective change. I am the change I seek.
Ooh.
Okay, now you are the change that you seek. Now I had started clapping my hands. I had to stop because I was like, I don't want the people to be like, they done fell out in the inspiration moment. Y'all are bringing it. I love it. This is good. This is real good.
With the stuff that's been happening in the last 2 weeks, we got to be the change. We got to be the change. We got to be the change. That's awesome.
We got to be the change in our mindsets, changing how we eat. Our health and wellness is so important, but also changing the way that we love each other. Being able to, forgiveness is a big thing. Being able to say, hey, I apologize. I'm sorry. I may have, offended you. I really didn't mean that. It was an accident. It's okay. People make mistakes. It's so many things happening in our society right now where people are just on edge. And I understand. But we also got to be able to do something different, y'all. So again, if you tuned in this morning to the I Win Morning Show, we are all the way live. Thank you for being on. But I'm excited about our big question today. It's already 7:33, and I think we should get right into it. And so, JT has kind of already, ushered us into where we're going next in regards to what has been happening over the last couple of weeks in our society. And if you are a parent, if you are a teacher who is in their classroom on the way to school right now, if you are an educational leader, community leader, most importantly, if you are in the legal system, the juvenile justice system, if you are in law enforcement, we definitely want you tuned in to this conversation. Because the big question is really centered around this, and we want you guys to go here with us because it's important. And I also want to give the disclaimer that we are just ordinary people. We're not coming on here as experts telling you this is what you need to do, and none of our shows are like that. But I do want to give that disclaimer around this because of the topic that we're going to be on today. But it's a very real question, and a lot of people are seeking real answers to this. If you witness a police officer or someone who is in law enforcement that is involved in a crime, whether it's, violence against a citizen or whatever that may be, who are you supposed to call? And what are you supposed to do? And to be honest with you, that should be the number one question, not just in Black households, but in households across America, because what do we do? And so we are going to open up the floodgates for people to share their opinions and their thoughts. But also, if you are an expert in this area and you're watching the conversation, then we definitely want you to give us some, techniques, some strategies. And we're also going to be sharing our own things. But that is our question. That is our focus for today. So Dr. Danny and JT, let's get right into it. Don't forget, like, share, comment, guys. Let's go.
So I actually asked a question like this in my social media thread, really sincerely asking for an answer. But I thought that I would get like an organization, the name of one, or a phone number to call. No. I really was educated on the ignorance that exists out there pertaining to this type of situation. And I was angry at the responses because I think some people just took it lightly. They said, oh, well, I'll call on Jesus, or I'll call on, Johnny Cochran, who's not here anymore, but I'll call on his law firm. And it infuriated me because it just reminded me the reason why this continues to happen is because we continue to think in a way that is not proactive, but reactive. And so we want to call in the authorities after somebody has lost their life due to some of this crime, but we don't want to call in anybody to intervene, or nor do we know how to hold people accountable. So when an incident happens, it happens, and it's always the worst case scenario because no one's been called in to stop it. People are called in to stop it for the future, and you see where that's going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who would I have called if I was standing there watching Tyree Nichols? I don't know. That was the question. And
that is a powerful
we don't
question.
Ask that question.
Well, Dr. Danny, you made a good point though. Like, if you witness these situations, and it's real. Now, I have tagged a lot of parents to this conversation because in public schools, this has been happening. And I want to shed light on something else that we don't see and we don't hear about. We have police officers in schools, and these are things that I've seen. Okay, I want to also preface this. I've seen this, and this is not all police officers, but I have seen police officers in schools. Yes, these have been Black, white, mixed, all in between. I've seen different officers do this at several different high schools, not just in the city of Atlanta, but also in Metro Atlanta. I've seen students that have been kicked and stomped by police officers. I've seen students that have been punched in the face by police officers, middle school and high school. I have seen students slammed in the ground, slammed into lockers, thrown around like they are not even human beings. For simple things, having an argument with their classmates, getting up, going to the restroom because they need to go to the restroom, but our policies in school police teachers and children, so they don't have the autonomy to get up to go to the restroom. So if you get up and it's like, oh, let me push this bell because you walked out, it's like it sends a signal that, oh, you're doing something that is out of order or wrong. So I now have the power, the authority, and the right to harm you. And so parents, this is not just happening in our communities, in the streets. This is also happening in schools. And what do you do when you see these situations happen? And most times, kids get silent, they cry out of fear, or they run and they leave school. Those are the options that they have. So I wanted to shed some light on how this is also showing up in our schools.
Wow.
It's like, who do you call? And that was your state question. When you're seeing them do what they're doing, you're like, I'm kind of like hopeless. So I'm just going to record, because if I jump in a situation, I may be liable of getting in the same predicament that I'm in at that moment. If I'm real time, if I'm there, I probably still would have called for more records, for more validation and proof of what I'm seeing while I'm recording. Because the only benefit I have is I have two phones, so I can record and call and not have to worry about that. But I would do that because my thing is, I do know everybody is not bad, and I would have to hope that there's some good or something that's right that is seeped in there that can come out, that'll be able to begin to establish the change again that we're seeking. Because growing up, it is who we would call if something was going left. Now I do second guess it and question it, but in the authority of who I am and what I have, I kind of would still have to call, because in the laws of the land, it's kind of like, yo, that's given to you all. And if somebody's coming at me with something and I'm not equipped, then yeah, I will hopefully depend. But at the end of the day, if this is what I'm supposed to do, I'll do it. And I just hate that when I do, I'm still up in the air on, is it going to be helpful? Is it going to be beneficial? Is the outcome going to be resolved, or is it going to be questioning and fighting? Because I've seen even moments where people have been, they've been in the store and they've been accused of stealing something that somebody else wanted. And then when the police gets there, they're coming at you. And it's like, I'm not even the problem. What is going on here? So it's like, I kind of wouldn't not do it because I don't want to take things in my own hands. But it's just, yeah. It's a little weird. It's not a good space to be in, because like they say, protect and to serve. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Good. That's good. It's a very deep question to really think. And then here's the other thing: we're not taking into consideration that we are actually in a position where we're witnessing somebody being harmed, that we're witnessing trauma. And I think I want to take us here. I feel like it's different when we can see it with law enforcement and the physical violence, because we can see it. But this question is so big and it's so important, because it also puts us in the place of when we see women come into work and we know they've been physically abused, how are we supporting them? We don't see it. We don't see the trauma. We just see the aftermath. We see kids that are being abused. We see people that get abused in church. And we see people, it's called the church hurt, that we hear people talk about a lot. But how do we go back and also recover people and help them? And so even in these moments where harm is taking place, who do you call? And I'll also say this. I mean, a lot of people do say, I call on Jesus. And that is what we have been conditioned, we've been taught to do that. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, because you should be in prayer, because we do need people to be in prayer in those moments. But then we also need workers. We need someone that's try to do something, some type of awareness, and it's really limited. I see some comments come in, and I love these comments. And we're going to read some of these, but it's a really tough thing, because if you've never been in that situation, to be quite honest, I don't know how I would react. And I'm being very honest. I don't know how I would react. I think that's an honest answer too.
Yeah. I don't know. And you just get the point too of like this, seeing somebody beat, or like the kids who come abuse. Like, I remember me working at APS, what those situations look like. What do you do? And it's like, and again, let's go spiritual. Oh, I'm going to pray. Phenomenal. But I don't believe, and not saying it won't happen, but I'm not sure I'm going to see immediate action on the side of God stepping in, you know what I'm saying, to fix whatever. Because here's the other thing. I do know sometimes people carry a weight that causes disruption to create the change. And not saying that, you know, some people have to go through, but I do understand that certain things has happened that causes now the conversation, the change that we've been looking for. And I hate to say it, that if it wasn't for them going through, some of these things would not be discussed. Some of these things would not have been brought up. You know what I'm saying? The way people have been misused by the police long years. But then when you think about Eric, I think it was not Eric Garner, who was the guy with the cigarettes? Just totally forgot his name. In New York.
You must be talking about George Floyd. That wasn't
George Floyd.
Floyd. That's not in New York.
Eric Gardner.
It
was Eric Gardner. Those situations that cause the conversation now. You know what I'm saying? The things that are happening. So it's like, I hate feeling helpless when we're supposed to call on them for help. Like, I just feel like we're on our own. We're literally on our own. And now this is a little deep, a little left, but even if we came together as a community, I'm not even sure what that would look like. Because some of us in our community, can we really partner and even begin to establish something that supports ourselves? Or do we have to also look for our community to get us in the back as well?
No, that's good. JT, you're taking us down a good road, because these are things that we have to talk about. And as we're all thinking about strategies and things to do, I want to share one comment from Casey. Love Casey. She's a friend, fellow advocate, and she dedicates her life to doing the work in the community. And this is such a good point that Casey made. She says, I have jumped in, and at times that wasn't the safest thing, because it's flight or it's fight in those instances. And that is so important, because we think about the number of women who are in education. And it's like, if a fight breaks out and, you know, children are in harm's way, or if an incident happens with the police, what are they supposed to do? They can only do so much. You have other kids are responsible for. You're trying to make sure. It's a lot. There was just a video of a student that fought a teacher in a school. The teachers were trying to, you know, break it up. And the teacher that was assaulted, her leg got broke. This was right in Conyers. This was in Georgia. Two other teachers who were females were injured because they were trying to simply help. And it is like that is a good point. Like, how do you also protect yourself from being hurt in these situations? So there's a lot to think about with this conversation. A lot of things to consider. A lot of moving pieces and variables.
Yeah. It's just a place to be in.
It's a real mess. It's a real mess. You know, I go back to the accountability of our community and stakeholders, where, you know, my heart goes out to those in law enforcement who are wanting to do the right thing.
Yes.
Who, you know, I'm in DeKalb County, and the vast majority of the officers I see are people of color. And this was the first time where I finally realized, yet again, we are not safe. Because just because the cops don't look like me, or well, just because, in spaces where cops don't look like me, I used to really take that for granted. I was like, well, I've got black cops all around me. And you realize it's not a color issue as much as it is about power. And so victims often are pretty much the same, though. They look like us.
Yeah, that's good,
color. But the power piece is about power. It's not about color. Those who are wearing a uniform are wearing it for different reasons. Some of them are wearing it because of tradition and their families are wanting to be a part of this type of organization. And the other part of it is because I lack power in some areas of my other life, and this is where I can really operate in power. So we have to be mindful that there are good people out there too, and not to put all of them in the same category. But that takes me to us as community members exercising our right and asking for support. There are organizations in law enforcement that really emphasize community engagement. If you don't show up to find out who these officers are, if you don't find out to show up and find out what your rights are, if you don't show up to have the conversations to find out how am I supposed to operate and utilize your services in my community, then I don't know what to do. I don't know what the relationship is between my community and law enforcement. Are you there to protect me, or are you there to instill fear? Because that's another thing too. When officers can show up in places where they often are not welcomed, that means that they are reinstilling fear. If you're talking about in a school that's in a lower socioeconomic area and kids are used to seeing officers called on in situations that are not desirable, what's going to happen when an officer approaches them in a school? It is re-traumatizing. So we have to understand the relationship between community and law enforcement. It needs to be strengthened, and there are ways to do that.
Yes, that was so powerful, Dr. Danny. I'm glad you shared that. And I highlighted some officers. A college mate of mine, a really good friend of mine, Sheriff Robert Grady. I mean, I know this brother. He has a good heart. He has trained good officers who have lost their lives.
That's right.
Trying to save us, people in our communities. Brittany Sparks is another police officer. She is related to a good friend of mine, Vincent Starr, who actually, shout out to Vincent Starr, who is the Educational Support Staff Member of the Year for Clayton County. I believe I have that title correct. However, he was just awarded for his educational service in Clayton County, where his family is heavily involved in community and education and, of course, law enforcement. So shout out to them. There are good people in these spaces. And so, Dr. Danny, I want to appreciate you for highlighting that because we see this too often. All teachers, schools are performing bad, so teachers are bad.
Right.
Well, if you keep telling teachers that they're bad and they're facing all of these things in the school, but that's why you got a teacher shortage now. That is a crisis, because if you're telling me that I'm bad and I know that I am literally putting my life on the line for some of these kids to have a chance, then let me find something that's different. So we do want to highlight also that there is a balance in this. There are good officers. All officers are not bad, but we can all agree that the system is not designed to do what America wants us all to believe that it's supposed to do.
And speaking of systems, defunding the police is not the answer. The threat to defund the police is the answer, to let people know I'm serious and this is where I need you to listen. I'm thinking about withholding funds because I need you to serve the community and not hurt us. But that's not the answer. It might be part of the answer, but the solution is revamping the structure so that we have a system that can be built off of trust. And how do you do that? I don't know how you do that. But I do know that when we go totally left and talk about defunding a system that has not supported us, we have to really understand what the consequences of that is as well.
Yes, Dr. Danny, let's go there. Because the analogy has been thrown out that, well, we've been defunding education. Well, first of all, we defunded education. They also have brought in a lot of federal funds to education. But at the end of the day, we know that it doesn't matter what is done. If you defund, fund it, this system, the way that it was designed, was not designed for every person, specifically people of color, especially people who are in lower economic status. This is also the battle of the have and the have-nots. And I have to bring that into this conversation because that's one of the things that my daddy highlighted this weekend as we talked about this. He was like, yes, race matters, reallocating funds and, making sure that you have good people in places. But this is the reality. If we are sending good people into bad systems, what do we think is going to continue to happen to those people and the people that they're trying to serve? And so we have to be mindful about these systems and the reality that America knows this, because our counterparts, China, has redeveloped its systems, whether it's their water systems, whatever it is. These different countries are all changing their systems. America is not changing these systems for a reason. And we have to be honest and real about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 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 And so here's my question. Where do we find hope in that? This is the part that I struggle with. Now, there was
that's good.
I was on a meeting. We're preparing one of my clients, because I help ministries and I help corporate business and stuff. So one of my clients is a church who we're preparing for their Black History production and things of that sort. And we were on the call going through the outline for that day, and somehow it shifted to education, and it can shift to education for them wanting to have a curriculum over in the youth church where they're providing some of the mothers and deacons to come and share their stories, because we're saying Black history needs to be Black History 365, to where it's not just something they're going to do in February, but once now a Sunday each month, somebody's going to begin to do something. And then we got to start talking about, having Black history class once a quarter for the adults, because everybody's not aware of where we came from, who were our, really influential people. And it started going. And it just dawned on me, because I was just praying days before about, okay, God, seeing what they're doing in Florida, seeing this conversation, where's the help? Where's the hope? Because I shouldn't be walking around here feeling hopeless. So where do I find it? And then when I get on this conversation and I'm seeing the church talk about how they're going to educate these kids and begin to give them information, I'm like, okay, here's hope. How about we really start empowering these churches to start creating these schools to where we don't have to look for the public school to be controlling. We can start being that voice. So it became a little hopeful for me that it can start from, here's one area where we can start really educating and empowering those youth. But now hearing some of this today, it's like, where do we find the hope? Because it's like, okay, we need to get these people in office. Okay, they're getting in office, but the problem I keep hearing is, can we even agree on who we want to put in office?
Oh,
because
let's go there today.
To the point where it's like, I want you, but now I'm fighting with you, and then you get tired. I am a person that is praying that, God, you give me endurance, because when I get fed up and tired of this and that, I just be like, it is what it is. We'll deal with it. I feel like a lot of people is like that, but it's like, how can we even, our community, I don't know where we need to find the agreements of things, but we need to find some type of levelness and uniformity to where we can make these unified decisions and put these people having the agenda, checking their heart posture to make sure even when they get into power, that they're not using it for their own benefit, but remember when we was in those meetings in the community, laying out these bullet points, I need you to follow that, because I feel like we can't really make that change until we get the people in the place to make it. But hell, we got to be able to even agree on who we're going to put in the place to be able to do it. So it's like, it keeps them like, where do we find the hope?
I think we find it in our young people. When I asked that question about where do we go, who do we call when officers are doing this, I had gotten a couple of leads on young kids who created apps on how to document incidents with law enforcement.
Wow.
It's really, make that viral.
Yeah.
Make those stories the hope that something can come out of this that can change the whole trajectory. And so, I mean, I know it sounds so typical, you know, the children are the future.
Yeah.
But the idea is they see things, they are born into this. And so they see it from a very different lens.
Yes,
a lot of our kids aren't even born into a world of hope. They're born into a world of, I need to learn how to survive from ground zero. Yeah. And so, you know, unfortunately, with the lack of being able to be a child and that lack of naivety, it's unfortunate. But then the hope is that, but these children will be able to show us a different approach that we no longer, because they're coming in ready. They're coming in tired, you know? So,
Dr. Danny, I think you shifted us to our original thought of the question is, what do you do if you witness law enforcement committing a crime? And it is depending on young people. And JT, what you just spoke to about hope, I'm hoping that we can continue this conversation next week on that aspect, because we need hope. And we also have to address the big elephant of the room. And I shout out to, you know, our sister, Anna Shea, who asked this over the weekend. Why don't we love each other as Black people? Why don't we love each other? That is also a big part of this conversation and the incident that just happened. But I want to go back to the young people. You're talking to, of course, Students for Equity and student leaders. These students know who the corrupt cops are. They are creating apps, to Dr. Danny's point. They have their own system of communicating. They know, okay, let me give this example. In Clayton County, this may have been 2 or 3 years ago. One of my students was walking with neighbors. One of the boys did something at the store. I don't know if he stole something and ran out. The other ones paid for their stuff, whatever the situation was. The owner of the store called the police and was like, this is what threw the situation. The owner was like, oh, they came in here with guns and they were robbing us. Now, none of them had guns. But I just want you guys to see how you shoplifted and stole gum, and that went from you stole gum or candy to you came in here and threatened our lives. You all had guns. They're in gangs. Go get them. And these are code words that are spoken to police officers from those who fear us, or for those who are like, this is what poverty looks like in my store, crimes, theft, etc., so forth. And now they're on high alert. When the police chastised, pulled over these boys, 2 of them were slammed on the ground, traumatized. These are middle school students. These are kids that are grades 5 through 8. And the boy that stole the candy had already ran off. He wasn't even with them. So now these are boys who had paid for their stuff. They have their things, and they're literally being traumatized by the police. Did they cry about it? Yeah, they cried about it. Were their families in high alert and upset about it? Yes, they were upset about it. But you know what these kids did? They said, you know what we're going to do? They sat out in their community for at least 2 weeks. And you know what they did? They did what the police did. They were observing the police. They looked at the police officers and said, oh, okay, take his pick. We don't know their name, but we know, hey, y'all, this is a good officer because they came over and asked us what school we went to. And man, let me tell you, I used to play basketball good in the day, so let me get out here on the court with y'all. There were officers who were intentional about making sure they were building relationships and letting people know that we are here to really help. We're not here to, bring fear and to, kill, steal, and destroy. Yeah. But these kids, even though their school system will say that they are Title I and they're, underachievers and they aren't, the best performing, they were bright enough to realize the officers who didn't have good intentions and to take photos of them and to share them in the group. So if you see these officers in their cars, know that it doesn't matter if you got on a football uniform, if you in the suit, they're going to come and harass you. And so I think that example answers the question that JT said about hope, and also the wonderful analogy that Dr. Danny gave us about how the young people are living through this and they're creating new systems and new ways to really navigate this and, you know, change how this looks. And so shout out to our young people. Parents, get connected to your kids. Ask them these questions. What's happening in school? You notice this in the community? Are these officers really, are they harassing the seniors? Are they harassing you know, your peers and your friends in the community? We got to ask these young people the questions. Thank you, Dr. Danny, for that analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Heavy question this morning, but it's so good, y'all. What do we do when we witness these atrocities that are happening by those who should be protecting and serving us?
I wanna emphasize something too. There's you know, the person that is being victimized. There's a lot of conversations about what do you do when you are the victim. What we're talking about is what do you do when you're a witness. Those are two very different conversations. And I want to make that clear because I cannot imagine what it would be like to be victimized. You're not thinking, you're not thinking in that mind frame. So you are relying on those who are innocent bystanders to be advocating for you, to document. So, you know, you can ask the right questions. There have been several sessions about how to respond to when you are in a traffic stop. Respond. There's several sessions on how to do that. And what we are seeing yet again is you can do everything right, and still be treated wrong. So be encouraged that there are people out there who are going to be equipped to be witnesses who can document what is happening in real time. And when you can't call in on help, they can. So just remember that.
That's a good point. And Dr. Danny, I want to stay on that for a moment. It is also important too, when you see police officers that have pulled someone over, or you know, you see that something may be going on, it is important to immediately document who is at the scene, because sometimes people flee the scene, they've seen things, and they're just like, oh, I ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not going to say anything. What happened leading up to the events? And I noticed this, the media really irks my nerves sometimes because they don't really give us the story in totality. They break it up intentionally to be divisive. We know. If you don't know, that is how the media works. And so we get bits and pieces of the story, and a lot of times people are like, well, why did they run? And why did they do this? Well, you don't know. Flight and fight are real things if you've never been in these situations. And so if you are a witness, getting your phones out. Yeah, we may say that these phones are the devil, but let me tell you, you got to use things for your good. If you see something happening, document it. If you are with more than one person, you have one person record and you call. Hey, I saw this guy named Gerald Griggs. He is the NAACP president. He knows people. Get in touch with him. Get on social media and let people know there is something happening. We need people to show up here. Because see, that's the other thing. When you have people showing up who know the law, they can say, hey, wait a minute, buddy. You got to cut this out. You're wrong. You're in the wrong. If you know officers who could come in and be like, hey, man, we need to walk away. We need to defuse the situation. We also have to position good officers to be able to come in and diffuse situations. And so, again, I'm hearing Dr. Danny say it's about engagement. How are we being engaged? If you are a bystander, think about this. If you are the person, what would you want somebody to do? I would want somebody to put your car in the middle of the highway, and I don't care what you got to do. If somebody, grandma got to get up on the car and start screaming, whatever y'all have to do to get help, to get people here, to bring resources, that's what I would want. I would want somebody to do. I would want people to be praying. I would want people to be documenting. I would want people to be trying to say, hey, I know this, brother. They're not trying to bring any harm. Can you guys just, ease up on this, something? Something is better than nothing. That's what I would give, to that.
And Dr. Danny, before we go, because I know it do we know the apps that they were sharing? Because I'm even seeing, because I just had this conversation every time I see a police now, especially in the last week, I'm like, should I be pulled over? getting what information, because I'm like, I don't want them being like, what are you doing? Move the camera. But I want to be able to catalog what I'm seeing. So yeah, maybe not now, but maybe next week we can, ways on how we can start making that simple step forward of doing this little bit of information, bringing this point to reference. Yes, Jason, because it came. Yes.
It did come. I would say, as we're talking about solutions for witnesses, I also realized this is the teacher in me. Georgia only teaches Georgia history for one semester, and really they only focus on civics for one semester. So I want everybody to get that realization that a semester is not a year. This is maybe a couple of months, maybe 3 or 4.5 months. So if students don't really have the time to learn this, you got to think about all the adults who went through a public education system that failed them. A lot of people don't know civics. So I think a good place for us to start, and this is how churches, this is how after school programs, this is how community centers, community leaders can get engaged. Where we have to start teaching civics again to everyone, reminding everyone about how we vote, the power of our voting. What is citizenship? What is the responsibility of police officers? Because yes, they are responsible to protect and serve, but you got to know the history of why police officers were created and what that looks like in America. So I think that us getting to a place of teaching civics would be great. And also getting young people involved in these TikTok videos and these apps to show us, if you are in a situation like this, here are the top 3 things that you can do. So if you are a parent, I'm challenging you to go to your schools and say, hey, these are real issues. How are we getting our young people involved in creating campaigns around this, especially coming off of Dr. King's holiday? How are we building the beloved community in regards to being able to protect ourselves in a state of policing? That was what came to me, JT. Thank you for letting me chime in and share that.
Okay. And I think next week let's just do some research and find some of these TikToks and kind of start sharing that information, because I need to know. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I need to know, and I think educating people with information. I think too, and this is with this and beyond, just about life for everyone that's listening. You don't have to take the whole pie. I know we want the whole pie, and I know we want it all fixed at the moment, but we need to take what we can digest first. Take that, let that be what we can get. Because I'm like, what do we need to change right now? Okay, no. First, let's go look up the laws. Let's go do the simple things that'll get us the right knowledge, the right information, so that we can build on that, because life is still happening, but we don't need to try to take the entire pie right now. Take what we can and then let's build, because here's the truth. I may start off with a penny, but if I keep collecting them, that penny will grow to something of value, whether it's $1, whether it's 10, whether it's 100, because $100 is only, but what is it, 10,000 pennies? The 10,000 pennies is $100. Let's do some math. It's early in the morning.
Let me tell you, that is a question that we used to ask, and I am not the math teacher, so I'm not going to try to go down that list.
I want to say yes.
But yes, I want to say yes. I want to say that my answer will be yes.
Okay. Either way,
that was a good point.
Y'all correct us. But it's going to take this connectivity, and hopefully we are going to be that change of providing just a little bit of information that you can be able to grasp and then be able to grow into something that can start helping, because there has to be a uniformity between our culture and our community. And if we can't agree on anything else, let's agree on that we all want our community to be here. We all want lives to be saved. And if we can sit on that, maybe we can put our ego and our desires aside and really start changing, you know what I'm saying, how we address some things. But it's 8:12, so I'm going to shut up.
It is 8:12, y'all. Listen, we love y'all. This has been such a powerful conversation. I think that we are excited about being able to touch on this next week, also in a different lens, because remember what we just witnessed, and I didn't watch the video of this brother's death. Dr. Ray was watching it, and I couldn't take it, so I had to leave out the room and went into a whole prayer and meditation. It's because it's a lot. Just to think that this brother was like calling out for help, and people that looked like him were like, "No, let me just kick you again. No, let me just hit."
Right. It looked like they were
okay.
in school when they were getting jumped, and they had it just looked like that there was hopeless and helpless, and I just keep sitting in why, what happened that caused this, that, and I don't think we've gotten there yet. So this is going to be really.
I want to go there because it's about love, and I mean, it's a lot. I want to save that for next week because I know we are at time. But guys, join us again next week for the I Win Morning Show at 7:15 a.m. Now we gonna come up and figure out, how we gonna frame this with our big question. But this was such an important conversation because it really helps us with dealing with what has happened so much over time and positioning us to say, but what do we really do if we witness this? And that's a good starting point. If I witness this type of violence, and let me also, as we're ending this, not just if I witness this from law enforcement, if I witness people being abused, whether I'm at church, I'm at the after school program, I am at work, how do I speak up? How do I show up? So this isn't just for law enforcement, because this isn't we gonna target police officers and say they the only people doing this, because baby, Ripley's, believe it or not, it's happening everywhere. So how do we hold people accountable for doing the right thing for others? And so we thank you guys for tuning in to this conversation. That the latter part was heavy, but you got to go back to the rewatch and get that affirmation from Dr. Danny and that inspiration from JT the Brand Master, because it was it. It was a great start to our week. But this was also an important conversation to have around information. So if you're just tuning in, make sure you go back, rewind on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you share, and most importantly, make sure you show back up next week, because it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good conversation. All right, I love y'all. The ocean is calling me. Oh, Lord.
Yes, smile,
y'all. JT did.